challenges I faced as a woman in a traditional law firm, I mean, I think we've come a long way. I remember early on in my career going to one of my first meetings, and one of the clients assumed that I was the secretary and I was just there to take notes. I think similarly, early interviews, I was told don't wear a trouser suit because you won't get the job. So hopefully we've come a long way from there, but I think there are still some quite entrenched views. I think particularly in some of the larger firms, if you're working in a transactional team, it's still much easier to manage a team if everybody is there all the time, because you don't have to think about how the work is allocated. And so there's almost a fear that as soon as a woman gets to the point where perhaps she's having children or she wants to work flexibly for other reasons, that she's going to run out of the door at 4:30 and never be seen again, which is a challenge in itself. I think that's not new thinking, but I think beyond that as well, there's perhaps more entrenched challenges. So you're encouraged to network, but perhaps the networking that's set up is inherently biased towards the way that men might work. So the events are quite male orientated, or the times when the events are held are quite difficult if you're trying to work flexibly. So those are just a few of the challenges. So working as a woman in law at gunnercooke, it's been very different. I think first of all it's very refreshing because you don't feel specifically that you're a woman in law, because I think men and women work on a very equal footing. I think plenty of people at gunnercooke work flexibly, and so there's no stigma attached to that, or it's not assumed that you're doing it because you're a woman. I think when I joined gunnercooke, I was hoping that I would be able to combine being a mother with carrying on my legal career, so I could carry on having a challenging career, but at the same time be present for my children, and have achieved that, and that's been really satisfying. But I think it's actually gone beyond that, because I think the additional independence and control that I've had over my career since joining gunnercooke has meant that I've been able to steer the direction of my career much more effectively, and start to explore avenues that I'm interested in. So the future of law, I think we've got a new, very intelligent, very technologically able workforce now who come in and they expect to be able to work flexibly, which is positive, because that's a sort of the workforce as a whole. It's not a women in law issue. I think the challenge will perhaps be to allow people to continue to work flexibly, but at the same time to recognise that what works flexibly for one person is not necessarily going to work for the other, and so how to manage that. I think other changes within the law, I think we're going to see a lot more legal tech coming forward, and the influence of artificial intelligence. So I think people won't expect anymore for lawyers to perhaps wheel out a set of standard terms and conditions, and they're paying for that as if it was something that's just been invented. I think quite a lot of what's been done by lawyers in the past could perhaps be done by AI, which is actually great news for us, because it means that we get the flexibility and the ability to look at the more interesting and more challenging areas in the law. And I think finally, and this is already happening, but I think it will continue, that lawyers will increasingly be seen as the trusted partners to our clients, and will work more closely. So we're not seen so much as a separate discipline, but working more closely with clients and in the decision-making teams. I think the successful lawyers in the future are going to be those who can act as a trusted partner, but at the same time can retain technical excellence within the law.